Hello and welcome to Tabletop Oddity. My name is Jay and today I'm going to be asking myself the question whether or not it's worth buying a 3D printer for Star Wars Legion and whether or not I specifically should buy one. Now, this is a slightly different kind of video. I intend to do like, if you see like the red banners on the channel, I'm calling that like my oddball. That's where I research a topic or I properly plan the video and I lay it out. This is sort of more along the lines of a kind of chat. Like, it's not intended to be anything serious. If you're looking for well-researched, well-thought-out points, I mean, this channel may not be the best for you anyway, but especially this kind of video, this is just a relaxed chat. Obviously, I made a few Star Wars Legion videos and quite a few people have subscribed and I'm very, very grateful for that. So, hello. But yeah, I'll get to the point. This is to see if it's worth buying a 3D printer. I'm this close to buying one, if I'm honest, and I've mentioned that in a few places. But let's see. What can you do with a 3D printer, and why is it useful for Star Wars Legion? Well, one thing you're probably not going to be able to do unless you buy a ridiculously expensive one would be to print miniatures. Like, you're not going to be able to get this kind of quality. This is Star Wars Legion, but Star Wars Imperial Assault, you're not really going to be able to get that kind of quality and detail. Maybe if you spend several $1,000s or pounds on one, maybe you could, but I'm looking at the cheapest of the cheap, like between £200 and £300. So I'm not really looking very expensive. So miniatures, that's out of the question, and it's also a little bit dodgy legally as well. So what can you do? Well, you can possibly do terrain, and it's terrain that really interests me the most. So when I say terrain, obviously there's different kind of things you could do, but especially Star Wars, a moisture vaporator or whatever it's called. I've seen a few 3D printed ones of those. They look pretty damn good. You could have crates, objective markers. You could even like X-Wing, they add storage. It's not terrain, but you know what I mean. There's stuff like you could do doors, 3D printed doors, 3D printed panels for walls, that kind of thing. For terrain, it's a decent option. Now, even with a decent printer, you still sort of get those lines. There are ways to try and remove those, like sanding and like a epoxy thing that you put over it. But it's worth noting that the lines might still be visible. And if you don't want that on your 3D printed terrain, then a 3D printer might not be for you anyway. Like, I'll talk about the cost and the effort in a minute, but the other things you could still print would be maybe like unique tokens or custom holders, that kind of thing. There's a few, like, they don't necessarily exist right now, but they exist for something like Star Wars X-Wing, so I'm fairly sure they will exist. There are a few things that I want to print for specific use for the YouTube channel. And what I mean by that is stuff that I might use on videos that I don't really want to talk about, but just keep in mind that I have an extra reason to possibly have one. Now, speaking of the YouTube channel specifically, and terrain, I like making terrain tutorials, as you've probably noticed. And I don't really ever want to make a tutorial where it's like, print this, do this. That's not good. 3D printers are quite expensive. I don't want to expect people to have them. And I'm a little bit worried that a 3D printer might make me a little bit lazy, because it might be like, oh, I printed this crate. Great. Well, it might be, whereas I might be able to think like, how could I make a crate that's really simple and quick? And, things like crates you can buy anyway. I've ordered some off this shop. They're out of stock right now, I think, but I've ordered some. When they arrive, I'll do a little review. They look exactly like the Imperial Assault ones, but like full-sized. I don't want to make that kind of content where it's you print it. So for YouTube, it's bad in the sense of I can't just be like, well, I don't really want to be like, print this, put this together, crack on. But it's good because let's say a new film comes out or something like that, and there's a specific set piece that I want to replicate. Well, we might not be able to have available. I might not be able to buy the terrain for it, and I might want to get it on a table for a battle report really quite quickly. Or if I'm doing like campaigns and specific rule sets and that kind of thing, then I might want to be able to produce them quickly. And that's something you obviously can do with a 3D printer, quickish. Let's talk about cost and effort. So let's have a look at the cost first. At the minute, you're probably not going to get a printer for less than £200, £200, but obviously the prices they're dropping all the time. And if you want a really good one, you're looking at 500, 600, and the top end are like $2,000 or whatever. Costs can be quite excessive, basically. And when you compare that to like terrain you can buy, I don't even mean like, I've been making terrain with foam board, which is very cheap and looks okay for me. I think it looks more than fine. When you compare the cost to that, it's questionable. And there's people who, I think like GameMat.eu, I think that's right. They may they do like a sci-fi set and a gothic set. And I think that's about £110. And that's like a full table's worth of terrain, all painted, all looking pretty damn nice. So if you just want one table's worth of terrain, or maybe one and a bit, or even two tables worth, the cost-wise you could just buy it and be done. If you 3D print it, you're going to have to get the files. You're still going to have to paint them all up and that kind of jazz. So you've got to weigh that up. And when we look at effort, it seems easy in the sense that, you just download the file off Thingiverse or whatever it's called, put it in your machine and the machine prints. Pretty much everybody any YouTubers who are talking about 3D printing, any commenters and stuff like that, it's quite technical and things break and you have to upgrade stuff because things don't work properly and it takes a long time to set up and calibrate, that kind of thing. I don't want to put people off by how much effort it is, but it's worth knowing that it can be quite a lot of effort. So those things combined, to me, if you're a casual Star Wars Legion player or Warhammer player, whatever you've got to think, is it just worth getting terrain elsewhere? The tokens are interesting, but there's a website where you can literally get people who've got a 3D printer to print stuff for you. If there's one or two pieces you really want, then do that, maybe. But the reason that I want one, as I said, it's a little bit more specific to YouTube. There's certain tokens that I'm going to want, certain things I want to do quickly. I could even make a video like this one. I've got a 3D printer. I could even make a video that shows off the best 3D printed terrain for Star Wars Legion. There's stuff that I can do, but I would always look at doing it. I would always look at, if I was doing terrain, for example, doing them old school, quick, cheaply, and without a 3D printer. So I think for the casual user, I think a 3D printer for Star Wars Legion probably isn't worth it. Let me know if you disagree with me. I've been a bit rambly already. I already appreciate that. I've just rambled quite a bit. I try and make notes, but I find it really hard to stick to my notes. So for casual player, I think probably not worth it. For a YouTuber who wants to have a nice looking customized table, well, considering Star Wars Legion is so new, it might be worthwhile, but you've got to think in 8 months' time, there will be terrain. It might not be branded Star Wars, even though I think Fantasy Flight have said they might do some terrain, but there'll be some substitute terrain available, and it'll be quite cheap in comparison to a 3D printer. So I think for the general, I won't say general public, but for the general user, it's probably just worth either making your own or buying it, unless you want to have 3D printing as a hobby and you've got other uses for it. If you play X-Wing, well, there's a chunk of stuff out there you can buy. If you just want to 3D print, a holder for your mobile or something, all that kind of jazz, it's quite interesting to do. And if you're interested in it as a hobby, crack on and buy one. But I think if you're just going to buy one for Star Wars Legion, maybe think twice, because you can get the stuff that you would have printed in other ways. What I've been trying to do is try and get files before I buy one, so I already have a purpose for it. I don't want to buy it and then never print anything. I'm looking at a really cheap, simple, small one. I don't want to waste too much money on one, basically, and not know what I'm doing with it. I think that's probably about it. What do you think? There's a lot of good stuff being produced. I keep seeing Tatooine buildings, and I'm like, that looks good. But then I did build mine. I'm looking over there because that's where they are. I did build mine, and it wasn't that hard. It didn't take me that long, and the ingredients were really quite cheap. It's probably as cheap as the materials for the a 3D printed version of it. So excluding the cost of it and excluding whoever's doing the printing, it's time. So I'm so on the edge. I sort of made this video to see if I could talk myself out of it. I haven't, even though I just gave all those negative points. And I think it's because the stuff like unique to the chat. Like, I know this is a stupid example, but for if I'm doing a battle report, what I've been tempted to do is print off like a massive number, just so I can put it on the table, like maybe even like on a stand, just so I can show you like what turn it is on the video without having to explain it. Now, I obviously could do an overlay thing of that, but I think maybe having it so I don't have to edit it in will save me time, and it's also like quite unique. So the stupid stuff like that, which have sort of persuaded me. Now, I do play X-Wing as well, and as I said, there's a few things in X-Wing that are quite good, like storage bins and unique tokens and rulers and bases and all, and asteroids and all that kind of stuff. So I think if you've got more than one reason to have one, do it. I've rambled so much. I'm so sorry. I'll see if I can edit this down into like some sort of coherent piece. But yeah, I'd really like to know, like, what do you think I should buy one? Do you think it'll be bad for the channel? That kind of thing. So do let me know. I do hope you please really let me know. But yeah, I hope you don't mind me throwing this video on the channel. I'm always worried that I'm throwing like easy content on the channel instead of something a little bit more thought out. And I'm sorry if that's your thing. And yeah, other than that, guys, I do hope you have a beautiful day. Do like, subscribe, and that kind of jazz if you want. But have a beautiful day, and goodbye.